Sounds good.
All right, this is Travis Marker. We're doing our first inaugural session of Fill Your Lamps. This is a session offered by Steward Growth, a nonprofit that helps people with sustainability issues in a variety of different ways relating to economic development, but also just getting a sustainable life. We have America Francis is the director, and she's joined us. We also have Debbie and Mary here joining us as guests, and also they're kind of partners in some of the Steward Growth projects, so we're grateful to have them here. This is a public workshop, and anybody is able to join and is welcome to attend if you're joining us from YouTube or wherever you happen to connect with us. We've explored for today the idea of lamps, and the origins of this idea is out of the New Testament, the idea of the 10 virgins, and 5 were prepared, 5 were not prepared. But this is not an inherently religious discussion, but what we're going to do is just play with the idea of being prepared and having your lamps filled, and recognizing when your lamps are not filled. The theme we wanted to pick on today was mental health, and we're gonna explore that idea from the idea of what do we do to fill our lamps by way of mental health, because obviously you don't know how maybe fragile you are or how difficult things are until you get there and you're like, wow, I am not able to handle this thing right now. Or it just took a lot of juice and you realize you're left and you're like, wow, I'm depleted. I have to like step back because this is way too hard right now. So we're gonna start with that intro. Anybody want to pick up on some ideas? Go ahead, America.
Well, I think identifying that as an area to look at in your life is really useful. If you haven't really paid attention to your mental health or how it might affect you in stressful circumstances, just taking an inventory can be really helpful. And I would say also observing other people who seem to be kind of stressed out and considering what they're dealing with, what their resources are, the tools, reaching out, things like that, so that you can understand what tools might be needed and also what tools might exist. And then you can start strengthening that area of focus.
Sure. I think the assessment is sometimes the harder spot because of depending on where we're at in our lives. We might have been going along at a fairly decent clip, like we maybe we have a regular nature to us that is doesn't require a lot of maintenance because of the way we're able to engage. But then we don't necessarily understand that regular maintenance has a certain level of balance to it, that the routine of our lives helps us stay in balance, and that balance helps us kind of keep our lamps where they're supposed to be because we're used to the tension or the stress or the balance between this is what I have to accomplish and this is what I need in order to be healthy to accomplish that. But then all of a sudden stuff comes in, like some of the common ones are death, divorce, bankruptcy, or debt, like stress financially. You also might have just deregulation by way of your employment or by way of moving or by way of other people moving or your friends moving. And so sometimes when you're not prepared for that external irregular, all of a sudden you're like, wow, I'm not prepared for this.
Some of those lists can be really helpful if you've never done the inventory of the most stressful events in your life. If you take a look at that list, sometimes you can identify stressful things. Sometimes people don't anticipate that getting married or finishing college, some of those things will be stressful, but when they look at the list, they can prepare in advance for stressful things that might be coming up.
Sure. It's true that, like, in regards to filling your lamp and preparedness, like if you had noticed that you might be losing your job, then you can sometimes like reassign resources, because sometimes mental health is about the anxiety about future things that we're not prepared for. Like, so if you lose a job, how am I going to move forward? Or if you did not know you're going to get divorced because like it just was sprung on you, then how like what is life after? Like, you thought you were going to have a companion, you thought you were going to have a person, you thought like you thought your person was loyal or faithful, or like you were not aware that there was going to be a breach. Or if you look at death, like you thought the person was healthy, you thought. And so some of those things is like how do you in advance do like a pre-evaluation to say, what's the status of stuff? But I would also say you don't want to do it from a position of anxiety where you're stressed about that thing.
Mhm.
There's a great book called Loving What Is, by Kate Bronte, or Bronte Katie. I can't remember her name. It's Loving What Is.
What was the
but
name of it again? I'm sorry. Love What Is?
yeah, Loving What Is.
Loving What Is. Okay.
And the book is really phenomenal about just saying, am I seeing things clearly, or am
Mhm.
I trying to create a different expectation out of what is happening? So she has some really phenomenal exercises as you go through the book where she'll say, what's happening? You're like, my son's supposed to do the dishes.
Mhm.
And she'll say, but he doesn't do the dishes. So is your son supposed to do the dishes? He's not currently doing the dishes. And she says, well, you may want him to do the dishes, but it's not true for him yet that he's supposed to, or he would be doing the dishes. And
Oh, sorry, my alarm's going off. Uh-oh.
no,
Got to see what's happening. Hold on.
you're okay. Um, but I think when we think about those type of realities, like I use that as an assessment tool. Geez, everybody's alarm's going off.
Yeah, it's a planned event.
That was new and goes with filling your lamps. That was all right. So
Yeah, I'm sorry. It was my phone. I don't know why that went off. I guess the
all of
alert
ours went off
sometime.
apparently.
Oh, okay. So it's not my, okay, I'm good.
It's a national emergency thing, so it
I
it fits into our theme. And
hate that when that happens. It scares me. It's just
No,
like, okay,
that's
everything's
actually super opportune for our discussion of filling your lamps, right? This was the nation seeing if our cell towers work.
good. Yeah, it obviously did. It scared me. Okay, everything's good.
or training us to ignore it whenever we
Yeah.
see that signal.
I'll
Yeah.
just turn it off on my phone. It's like, don't send me those alerts. I'm good. So,
Well, you may want it in the future.
yeah.
So I noticed that budgeting is difficult when we don't live in awareness. So
Mm.
I know in my personal life, because I in 2019 I was in a car accident that's caused me to have to kind of live inside a budget of my resources, not
Mm.
financially per se, but just by way of what I'm able to manage or do.
Mhm.
And that consciousness is fairly amazing because it forces you to pay attention to your balance. And I never ever used to worry about that. I was a workaholic. I did whatever I wanted by way of,
Mhm.
activities. I went to the gym and did whatever I wanted. Where now it's interesting how I have to say, like, do I have space for that? Do I have the ability to do that? Like, if somebody asks me to a family party or a get together, I can have balance and also, I appreciate that event's super important. I could maybe
Mhm.
come for a half hour to an hour. So it's interesting how having an event that showed me my lamp was not full, or at least showed me that like the amount of oil I was going to need in my lamp moving forward was dramatically different than the way I
Mhm.
previously lived. That was super helpful because it enhanced my consciousness about how I live.
Mhm.
That's just my personal example. Go ahead, America.
There's a tool that some special needs people use that's spoon theory. Have you heard of that before?
No.
What was it
So
called? Sorry.
spoon spoon theory. I don't know if that's the
Spoon
official
theory.
name, but basically it means you have so much capacity today and that it's represented by I have this many spoons and you have to allocate it to the most important things. And once your spoons are gone, you can't function anymore because that ability is gone. And it's really useful in situations like yours, Travis, where you have this much energy, you have this much mental capacity, and you know how much it is. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but you can usually tell I'm out of spoons. I can't fix food. I can't, so sometimes people have to explain to people around them, I understand that other people can do this. I understand some days I can do this, but right now I don't have the capacity, I don't have the ability to do, even if I wanted to do it, I cannot do it. Or I have something really important and I can't do something now because otherwise I won't be able to do this other really important thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree that you're also identifying part of filling your lamp is being open with people about the expectation of your lamp. Like if people come and say like you used to be a a bazillion watt lamp and
Mm-hmm.
you're like I'm not a bazillion watt lamp anymore. Like
Yeah.
you have to say like today I'm a 60 watt, today I'm maybe 100 watt. Maybe that's a bulb, but it's the same concept of like I just don't have the same capacity that I used to have. But if you don't tell people that, that also creates stress. That also creates anxiety because you're not being forthright or like authentic about just where you're at. And so they're wondering, like, well, why are you ditching me now? Or like what's
Mm-hmm.
happening? But sometimes just openly communicating, like this is where I'm at, helps you be comfortable with your own personal boundaries, but also expressing those.
Mm-hmm. It's
Well,
just
and you
funny.
also,
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Mary.
No, I was just gonna say it's just also finding those people who will listen, who like will care, you know.
Sure.
And I just feel, mentally exhausted through everything I've gone through. So I feel just so depleted. So I have to get my lamps, it's just hard, it's just a very hard situation. And in life, there's no blueprint. And when you're hit hard, it's like you're unprepared for the situation. You just learn as you go. I mean, that's what I had to do. And I'm still
Absolutely.
learning. So, yeah.
Yeah, I thought, Mary?
yeah, what I was going to mention is we talked yesterday about the gap between what you expect and want and the reality. And that definitely applies to here where you're talking about, I used to have this capacity and that's changed, and acceptance of that reality. And then when Mary was talking, I was thinking about burnout, because you can get so exhausted that you're in a long-term state of not having a very high capacity. And you really have to focus on the self-care and additional nurturing and resting and
Mm-hmm. I
some
agree.
really focused healing in order to be able to function, even maybe at a low level. If you expend too much energy over too long, you can really kind of damage your capacity for a long time.
Oh, that
Absolutely.
makes sense. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I definitely learned that. I was so surprised because I used to go to the gym before I got in my situation and
Mm-hmm.
I could bench 275. I could do a lot of things that,
Nice.
were very normal for me. And
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden, if I had a workout that put too much pressure on me, even though it used to be normal,
Mm-hmm.
I literally took a couple days to overcome the workout. And I'm like, wow, that is way different. And so I had to reconcile myself that maybe if fitness is still an interest, which it should be because it provides you endorphins, it provides your body the
Mm-hmm.
capacity to, immune system, all that. I had to recognize I have to shape my workouts so that I'm still achieving goals, but I'm not overtaxing my system like America just identified. Like that's a really
Mm-hmm.
great comment.
Wow.
Another thing that I notice is we have to think about the fuel we're using in our lamps because there's good
Sure.
and bad. There's good and bad fuels. Like there's good and bad ways to cope. There's good and bad ways to
Mm.
like I saw on Instagram a cup that says, you might take a hot bath and eat a chocolate cake as self-care, or you might change your lifestyle so that you don't as self-care. Right? So you're not necessarily just doing a little stopgap. You're actually changing the thing that's causing the problem, right? Like
Mhm.
maybe you have to do an inventory of your life and say, um, I just need some things to go. Like they're just
Exactly.
they require too much resource to address.
That's kind of what I feel like I'm going through. It's like I'm letting go of a lot of things.
Yeah,
So
is
my
that easy?
shoulders are feeling a lot lighter, but there's still some things I need to work on. But I think self-care, self-discovery, doesn't it takes a lifetime, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm just, yeah. you know, I want to keep going and keep learning, of course, but it's just exhausting right now. I'm just exhausted from mentally from everything. So.
Yeah.
When you hit a birthday, which Travis and I are about to have birthdays pretty soon, I think
Oh,
it's
mine is too in October. Yeah.
oh, woo, October. So it's good to kind of assess where you are. And I know a lot of us have gotten so much self-awareness that
Mhm.
we wouldn't go back, even though some of these things have been challenging, whatever, we wouldn't go back to 20 or 30. And there are a lot of advantages to being those age and being strong and healthy and energy and things like that. But just the understanding and the wisdom and the growth that happen can help you appreciate being in the life stage that you are, even if some of your physical capacities or mental capacities decline. You can see all of the advantages from going through and learning and growing along the way.
Exactly. I would never want to go back, you know, right where I am now. There's so much wisdom and knowledge I've learned. I would never. I took so much for granted when I was younger, even my education. Now I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm older and I understand and I get it. So yeah, no,
Liking
I would
yourself.
never go back. So
Yeah, I would never go back either. I also at one point heard Anthony Hopkins was asked if he had any regrets, and he just said no.
really.
And I appreciate that. I had to think about that in my life and think, are there things that I wish hadn't happened? I
Hmm.
think there's definitely things I wish hadn't happened. But I also think there is a sense of reconciliation and peace that comes from saying it did happen. Like, who was I then? Who am I now? What was happening then? What was happening now?
Hmm.
I don't think we reevaluate our lives from the perspective of justifying them and saying, whatever. Like, sometimes you have to say, I was a jerk, like there's no question I acted inappropriately. And I think being able to embrace life as it is easier than saying or living in that acid of regret, like, because you
Hmm.
can't necessarily fix it, but you can accept it and you could just say that's definitely who I was. That's
Exactly. Exactly. I do have regrets, but I look at it and I said, you know what? The only thing I regret was not believing in myself and pushing myself towards my goals because I thought I wasn't worthy and I am. You know, there's a lot of potential. Everybody has a lot of potential. That's my only regret that I have.
well, and
So,
I think what you're also talking about is grace, right? Like that I could look back at that person who was a jerk and I could say it's unfortunate that that person had not adapted to a variety of things
hmm.
and was manifesting himself in that way.
Hmm.
It's good that that person has like made progress.
Yes, a lot. Yeah, I wasn't very nice when I was younger, but now I'm a lot, you know, I'm better and I realized, you know, never ever take the little things for granted ever. So,
I totally agree.
yeah.
Um, I had another thought, but I just lost it. So, did anybody else have a segue they'd want to explore with the lamps?
I was gonna say life is hard and it's just, you know, we just learn as we go. That's what I've been doing. So,
I'd
and I
like
don't,
to explore fuel a little more.
yeah, I
Okay.
like the fuel.
All right. This is my bad example of fuel. I um I recognize I overeat when I'm stressed,
Hmm.
and I don't like kind of overeat. Like I'm like we're going down. Like
Really?
I, I get like ice cream and pies and licorice, and I'm not overeating steak, right? I'm overeating.
Hmm.
I'm
Sugar.
yeah, I'm totally overeating sugar because I clearly am relying upon the sugar receptors, but I'm just tired because I also recognize that because of some of my health goals, I do not eat a lot of sugar. Like I eat a fairly controlled, healthy diet that helps me achieve my goals. But sometimes when I like break loose, I'm like, screw everything, man. Like I need
Yeah.
chocolate, I need puddings, I need cake, pie, ice cream, it's like an abandonment. I'm like, this is so unhealthy, even though I'm aware it's so unhealthy, right? It's
Hmm.
like I'm like on the stagecoach, like just I'm not even slowing down before the cliff.
Mhm.
I'm like,
And,
I am gonna hit this so hard.
see, I'm opposite. I isolate myself and I don't eat. Yeah, and it's not healthy. That's not healthy either.
Yeah,
So,
no.
yeah.
So I'll have to say, like, sometimes to myself in my goals, when the rational person starts to turn back on,
Mhm.
I'll say it was just a day. Like it was just a moment.
Oh, yeah, blip.
I don't, and it may happen again, it may happen whatever. It's part of my process.
Mhm.
I can reshape that and work on that next time. I
Mhm.
also recognize that it's a form of a coping strategy it's an unhealthy manifestation. I still don't exactly understand what it means that I would eat like that or binge.
Mhm.
But clearly there's some form of a scarcity or anxiety related to the system I live in, right? That I have not embraced the balance between just being able to enjoy some healthy sugars or even just like maybe a smaller slice of pie
Mhm.
during my normal period. And so it's like I'm reacting against the tension and stress of being controlled
Mhm.
because of the
All or
balance.
nothing.
Right.
Wow.
And clearly that's not good fuel, right?
Yeah, that's for sure.
Living in a balance can be super healthy, but if maintaining that balance starts to equate to rigidosity, that also has a stress, right? Because you're recognizing you're not like you're giving up things that you probably don't have to give up. But you haven't reached a relationship with that stress that allows you to exercise faith in relaxing.
Mhm.
Relaxing. So to create balance, like it was mentioned before, I mean, how do you do that? You just have to take inventory of what's not working
Yeah,
and
well, I mean, that's definitely
that.
part of what a lot of it relates to your goals, you know. So
Mhm.
like when America talks about the spoons,
Mhm.
you would say, how important is this category of my life? Like
Mhm.
some days I'm a lawyer, so like I'll know if I have a trial, that trial gets all the spoons because
Mhm.
I will not be able to do much after that trial. And even if with my wife and kids, sometimes I'll say, um, you know, I had to use up all my spoons today. I need to take a break.
Mhm.
But some of that is, yeah, like you're saying, being aware of what is going to require your energy, what's going to be the thing you have to focus on so that you can even the night before, I'll say, okay, this is what's got to happen. I don't wake up in the morning and go, okay, here we go. It's more like I'm very thoughtful by way of, I usually look at my calendar at night and I'll say, this is what needs to happen. Am I prepared for that? It,
Mhm.
you know, but then I also have I have month-long goals. I have 6-month goals. I have year goals. And so in my head, I also kind of create a budget for the period of time that I need to manage. What are ways you do it, Mary?
For me, that's what I'm just kind of trying to create balance right now. It's not very good. My coping skill is isolation, and I don't have a more social life that I wish I did have. That's what I'm looking for. It's been
Okay,
difficult.
How would you like that to look?
right.
I would like, I kind of kept myself like imprisoned myself for so long because I just didn't like myself and some things that I did and didn't do. Just to be able to talk to somebody and who actually listens and who cares and be unconditional support, and I will support them as well. It's just really hard for me because I've been hurt so bad. I have a hard time with that right now. So,
So if I'm seeking to understand what you're saying. So you're saying that because of who you are and some of your histories, you have
mhm,
felt potentially unworthy to have a social group that you could connect with, and so
exactly.
you've kind of given up
And then
on
I
that.
thought I did, and then everybody just kind of like I felt like used, abused, and abandoned. And so now it's like I just have a hard time with that. I don't want to feel that pain again, you know?
So based upon your experience, you're feeling like your coping strategy is to just not try anymore. Like you're just like, you know what, I
Yeah,
can
that's
trust myself. And
yeah. And I know that's not right and that's not healthy. I mean, you need connections with other human beings. But for me right now, it's just like, why is it so hard? I mean, how do I get past that?
It sounds like you're trying to identify ways to find safe and healthy people.
Exactly, I am definitely, but it's like, okay, if they get too close, okay, I gotta back off because I'm like, hey, I don't know if I can trust you right now. I don't. It's just, it's not a healthy way to be, and I don't want to remain this way.
I just read a good book about safe people by Henry Cloud.
Henry Cloud. Okay,
Mhm.
gotta write that down.
He does a lot of things on boundaries.
And then when I did try to set boundaries, people would get angry at me and then they would just walk away from me. And I thought, you know what? Everybody has to have boundaries in their life and tell people no every now and again. And they didn't like that. So, or when I became assertive, because I was a doormat before, they
Yep.
everybody walked away, you know? So I thought, okay, we can't use Mary anymore.
Sounds like the unhealthy and the unsafe people walked away.
Exactly. And I'm all, you can keep walking. I'm fine with that. So now it's just to feel, the fuel with the positive and supportive people. So,
So as you've kind of gone into your isolation, the primary question I would say is, how comfortable are you with yourself now that you've kind of experimented with being alone?
oh, you know what? I've become sometimes a little more aggressive than I wish I wasn't. But, and I do struggle with agoraphobia. And
Mhm.
so I do have the isolation, but I'm working on that and doing much better. But for me, it's like, you know what? I'm worthy and deserving, and I've become more assertive. And people, even, relative, even family are just like walked away because I became a completely different person. I go, why? Because you can't walk all over me anymore and put me down like you used to.
Yeah, well, but come back to this question, like, how do you feel about yourself? Like, I know that one of the issues I had to overcome was I had lots of people that I engaged with,
Mm-hmm.
but I engaged with from a perspective of some form of a need. Like, I was hoping that they would fill my lamp for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was potentially casual about that. Like, I just wasn't paying attention. But then with this, state that I'm in now,
Mm-hmm.
one of the first lessons that came was I actually needed to like being myself and with myself. And I had to take full responsibility of my own space and happiness and my decisions and my mindset and my thought process. And it was the first time in my life I'd ever transitioned into, I actually like myself. I don't need somebody to do something for me. Like I'm actually okay. Now, it
Myself,
doesn't
yeah.
mean that I don't enjoy hanging out with people. Like I still recognize that I think I even enjoy these relationships more because I'm not requiring them to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not requiring anything from them because I recognize I'm responsible for my own position. Like I
Exactly. And honestly, I'm a little angry at myself for allowing what happened. So yeah, I am a little angry. But then it's like, it's okay, Mary, you are a good person. And I'm just trying to really believe that. It's just hard. It's just hard. Does that make any sense?
no, it totally makes sense.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
how do you, I guess, the question is still, do you like your own company?
Not lately, I have not. Honestly, no, I haven't.
Hey, so isn't that
So
exciting that you get to look at that and you're like, I'm a really awesome person. Like I should hang out with myself more.
I should, yes. I'm working on a few things. I had a rough weekend and I kind of exploded at somebody and I'm like, hey, I didn't handle that well. We need to work on that. So yeah.
So so now that you've kind of identified that you still potentially aren't necessarily home with yourself, how would you, if you're looking at that lamp, you're saying the lamp of self needs to be filled because you're pretty dang amazing. How would you how would you just embrace yourself and say, you know what? We're gonna hang out today and it's gonna be cool.
I'm just going to talk to like more positive, loving, caring self-talk is what I need to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's really useful.
I'm learning. Yeah, I know it's just funny to say people say, well, why, that's not really hard to do, but for me it is sometimes. It is hard for me to do.
I'm not challenging that it's hard.
Yeah.
I had a really rough night um in 2021.
Hmm. Yeah.
But I remember it because I couldn't believe it. But I'd read Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. And in the book, it says you are the direct result of the dominating thoughts in your mind that you entertain and like foster, like you're
Mm-hmm.
responsible for the things that you grow in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember saying over and over and over that night, I am the direct result of the dominating thoughts in my head. Because I was telling myself, like it's somewhat your fault right this second that you're this dark. Like you have to accept the challenge to get over this darkness. And
Mm-hmm.
it took me, I like mantras, think like self-talk where you just repeat things and like you're trying to self-talk yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It took me a half hour to get to a different mantra. And I was like, oh, that is so nice.
Really?
And because I had opened my mind to accept another dominating thought. So
Mhm.
I then started saying that thought like over and over. And it was probably another 15 minutes, just like, man, I just need to embrace this. Like, why am I so like out of this? And
Yeah.
then I moved into the final one. And the final one is I accept myself. And
Accept
and I
yourself.
just said,
Yeah,
I accept myself. I accept
I
myself.
like that.
And
Well, I
and
was just, oh, go ahead. I'm
it was
sorry.
kind of like a flower blooming. Like I was like, oh my gosh, like I can I can accept myself.
Exactly. And it's just like, why? And all these people would said these things to me and labeled me. And I believed that. Why? Because I was weak. I didn't believe in myself. So that's what I've thought all my life. Okay, you're not worthy, you're not deserving. Because those things were said to me all the time. So now it's like, I'm changing that because I believe I am worthy and deserving.
Well, you absolutely are, right?
Yeah, we all are.
That's another good reason to put together some type of vision board, I think,
Hmm.
because a lot of times people kind of forget who they are, and you can put out. I did an exercise where I listed lots of different roles in my life, and I think it's good to have that whole picture of who you are
Hmm.
instead of maybe focusing on one thing you don't like. You can say, these are all the roles I play, and these are all my skills and my interests and my talents, and these are all the great things about me. And you can have the things that you're working on and the things that aren't the place that you want them to be. But
Hmm.
it's important not to forget all of those other good things.
Exactly. Focus on the good. I do have a vision board. It's really cool.
And
So,
also to remember that you're not the same person that you were a year ago or 5 years ago.
oh, I'm
You're not the
not.
same person you were yesterday, and you're
Mhm.
not the same person you'll be tomorrow.
You know what's funny though? When you just said that, it's like I can't even connect with who I used to be like a year ago. I'm completely different. And then I get a little anxious and I'm like, this is good though. You're
Yeah.
going in the right direction. So it is just, I don't know, it's just different. I don't know. I like it though.
Labels can get us hung up too. If
Yeah.
you label yourself as being angry or weak or aggressive, any of those things, they pull you all the way to one extreme
Mm-hmm.
instead of everybody is on a continuum or a spectrum of lots of different things. And maybe the difference between yesterday and today is a big difference on your spectrum.
And I've been saying every morning, I'm a work in progress.
Yeah,
So
that's very good. I tell people like if they say, this, you're not there yet, I said, I appreciate that. I'm a person in transition.
exactly. Oh, I like that. Yeah. So, or people say, well, you should be doing this or this. I'm doing what I'm doing right now
Yeah.
is where I'm at. So,
Something that's been helpful for me recently is, wouldn't it be nice if, because instead of like, I'm not here or I don't have this yet or whatever, wouldn't it be nice if this situation happened, and it softens it a little bit so that
oh,
you
I
can
like
start to
that.
move in that direction?
Wouldn't it be nice? I'm writing that down. Oh, I like that.
I also borrowing from Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning.
And that's a
And
good book. Yeah.
yeah, the his philosophy relates to purposeful living. And that's also a Japanese philosophy called Ikigai.
Ikigai. Yeah, I know Ikigai. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that
Yeah.
we're right on track. So the premise of Ikigai is to live within your purpose,
Mm-hmm.
and Viktor Frankl is to live with purpose. And
Mhm.
so the idea is if your life has a meaning or a goal that is relevant to you, it helps you kind of create like anchors and buoys and like lifelines because just like you identified, Mary, you said, I'm doing what I can do. That's easier to say because if you have a goal connected to that thing, like you're like, I'm aware of my path. I'm aware of the process I'm on. I'm aware of the trail and the process and the way I'm connecting with my goal.
Hmm.
I appreciate it may not be as fast as you'd like me to accomplish my goal, but it isn't your goal.
Exactly. And you have to have goals in life, right? Or you're just
Right.
not striving for anything.
Yeah.
But your
So
goals can be very simple goals. You can
Mhm.
focus today on being authentic. You can focus today on resting.
I like that.
You
Yes,
you don't have to say today I'm going to accomplish this giant list of things.
yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
I'll,
like
I'll
I got to make a lot of money because I want to drive a Corvette. That might take a while. So
sure, I mean, it should be on your board, but like it doesn't have to be done
exactly.
today.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it
One
be
of
nice
the,
if I had my Corvette?
Yes, it wouldn't it be nice? Yes. Very nice. I
yeah,
like
what
that.
I would also, yeah, like coming back to like your list, I would say, like even in my life, in reality, I would say I need to get these 5 things done today. And
I
they,
like
I would set an expectation around them that would say, are they practical? Do they make sense? Like how important are they? And I
Mhm.
would start the day with those 5 things I might need to do, or maybe some days it's 10. But if I got through one and I'm like, that was more than I thought. So
Oh, I like that.
I
I
just
like
move them on
that.
my calendar over. I just slide them to the next day so that they're still on my to-do list. They just didn't get done today, And
So 5 goals a day then? Just a simple small things or yeah.
sure, well, I mean, whether they're simple or small is up to your 5 things, but
Okay.
But I would say if there's something that's a high priority for you, you can do something today that gets you toward that. So if you have a really big goal, like I'm in the middle of this master's program, your
Mhm.
goal could be I'm going to do a lesson today. I'm going to read something today. And
yeah,
if you do something today toward your goal, sooner or later you'll make some progress. So if it's a really high priority, but today you don't have something that gets you toward that, parenting or
Mhm.
your own talents, um, when will it happen if it doesn't happen today? And maybe you put on your calendar different priorities for different days. So
Mhm.
maybe you have a work priority today and a family or a home goal tomorrow,
Mhm.
but you've got to do small things to get to the big places.
no, absolutely. I think that because like with my day, I know I have 2 things that have to get done every day
Mhm.
that are just kind of part of my work. I then know I'll have extras that will be like I might have 3 or 4 emails that I need to probably send out. So I do budget them. I put them closer to priority. So
Mhm.
after my mandatory, I put the like, it'd be great if I could get to these. And then I know that there's a variety of discretionary things that might be aspirational or they might be just good if I could get to. It'd be nice if I could accomplish them. Um, and then I usually end the day with I have some physical exercise goals that they're in the need to get to, and they're like my push through the end of the day things. Like so, I have 5 health goals I try to achieve every day by way
Mhm.
of exercise. So the way they manifest is totally um, kind of unique because I don't like super repetitive things by way
Mm.
of like I don't want to do 100 jumping jacks every day forever. I
Yeah.
I but I have to do so like I get 7,000 steps every day.
I do. Yeah, that's good. I do 10,000 plus. Yeah, that's my
Yeah.
one of my goals. Every day I got to walk 10,000 plus
Yeah.
steps.
Well, and I recognized that 10,000 was too much for me, and I was doing
Yeah,
6,000 for a while, and then
that's good.
Select Health told me that I wasn't qualifying for my award program. Are you guys a part of the award program?
For I do have select. Did you say select health? Yes, I do
Yeah,
have.
they have an award program. So if you go to the gym, you get $10 a month,
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah.
if you get 7,000 steps, you get $10 a month.
And see, I
If
have
you
my own little gym, so I like to do it at my gym. And the apartment complex has a great workout place. So
Yeah. So if you have 20 days where you get 7,000 steps, they give you $10. So I realized I'll bump up my steps to 7,000 and I get I also have 25 minutes, zone minutes. So 25 minutes that I'm above 100, beats per minute.
Mhm.
Mm.
And then there's some other ones, but I just try to like did I get my health goals done? I got my work goals done. I got some aspirational goals done. It's a good day. Like that.
I
That
want
is,
to bring up another tool.
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, please
I've
do.
noticed doing these classes that I'm really into principles and
Mhm.
ideas like that. So the one I want to bring up is the urgent versus important matrix, because I think a lot of times people are so reactive to the urgent things, and maybe they're, if you don't prioritize doing some important things that aren't as urgent, maybe you keep doing urgent things that are not important, and then the important things don't eventually materialize because they're not urgent enough. So you can look at those things and maybe delegate or remove some things that are taking time that aren't aligned with your ultimate priorities.
Yeah, that's the Covey
like
four
that.
squares.
I don't
Yeah,
know if it comes from Covey.
Yeah,
Well,
I would just Google it.
No, yeah. Covey has his box, his quadrant of there's urgent, not important.
Mhm.
There's also like I don't know, there's like urgent freaking out.
Yeah, I like Stephen Covey. The 7 Habits of the Highly Successful People, that book. Is
Yeah,
that what you're talking
yeah, highly
about?
effective people. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a good
I
one.
definitely try to keep I try to have zero urgent boxes. I have
Exactly.
boxes that just need to be addressed, and I have things that it's nice to get done. But if things become emergencies, usually that's in my deregulation mode where I'm like, there wasn't supposed to be an emergency today.
Yeah,
And it sucks.
exactly.
It sucks a lot of resources, and I'm like, I'm not sure how to process this at the moment, but it's basically it might push everything off the shelf.
Yeah.
Once you flip that breaker, once you're deregulated, then you can't problem solve effectively. So you have to keep yourself in that stable zone where you're effective.
Yeah, totally agree. And I know that there'll be times when there are emergencies and people are saying,
Mhm.
we need you to participate. And so I do say, all right, I'll figure this out.
Mhm.
But I do also start budgeting what else needs to have to be cut out today. So that might be like if I have to over budget on an emergency, that's where I'm like I might have to take the day off. Like just
Mhm.
do
Yeah,
level funding.
exactly. So I used to go home for Christmas and my mom would have all these tasks for me to do. And I'd be like, Mom, I just took finals. I just did this really stressful thing. So you can even anticipate those big blocks that will, like, some are really long, stressful events like getting divorced, but there are some also shorter things like work deadlines, seasons that are busy. And then it's good to schedule out after that time some makeup to rest.
Make up your
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Um, and that's one of the things I do with makeup to rest is part of my voc rehab was learning to spend time with myself to see how my brain engaged with less executive functioning. Like if you travel with people, you're worried about when the bathroom is, you're worried like, well, where are you going to sleep? What
Mhm.
And so I'll take super long trips where I'm just by myself and people think
Mhm.
it's crazy because I'll go out to the Badlands, in July, or I go to the Rocky Mountain National Park in, in September or August, whenever
Mhm.
when I did that. But it's also like the time for me just to start processing in my budgeting. And
Mhm.
and it was really good. I learned in my last trip, I need to go to bed a lot sooner. And I'm
Good.
not normally a go to bed person. Like I used to go to bed, 1 o'clock, and
I'm a night owl, but then it's
yeah,
like, hey, and I like the morning time too. So I'm like, hey, I only get 4 hours of sleep and I can function on that. It's really
which
weird.
is completely a lie.
Yeah.
Sleep.
Yeah, so
I would crash so fast.
I recognized in this last trip I took, like if I go to bed earlier, and do stuff to help me go to bed earlier,
Mhm.
I sleep a lot better and I actually process a lot better the next day versus still getting, because I need to get 8 hours, but if I sleep from midnight to 8 or 9, that's apparently different sleep from my body than from 10 to 8 or 9.
I
Mhm.
hear that the sleep you get before 10 p.m. counts double.
Yeah,
So when I was trying to get up early for school when I was in college, I'd go to bed at 9, or, you know,
Mhm.
count that as extra.
yeah. Well, I can speak from experience that it is interesting how different I feel just by getting better before midnight sleep.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So that's another lamp thing. When I've lost 46 pounds since I started my health journey.
Well,
Wow.
congratulations.
Yeah, it took me a couple years because I did have those binging days.
Mhm.
But
That's a lot.
yeah, but what I recognized as I really studied it, because like you can have a goal and you're like, well, I guess I'll just like start doing it. Or you
Mhm.
can say, no, I'm actually committed to achieving it.
Mhm.
And in order to do that, you have to fill your life with information.
Mm.
So I actually studied how to lose weight. Because I'm like, there must be something wrong about the way I'm doing this because it's not quite working.
Mhm.
And I realized there was like 10 things you actually have to do to effectively lose weight, not lose rebound weight or not lose like just water.
Mhm.
Um, and when you think about, wow, I'm not even doing it holistically. Like in high school, it didn't even come up, right? You're just like, I'm skinny.
Yeah.
But now it's like, do I get 7 to 8 hours of sleep? That's part of losing weight because your body um is the sleep helps you release cortisol, and cortisol is your stress inducing hormone that causes you to gain weight because it's preparing for battle.
Mhm.
So having 7 to 8 hours of sleep is engaging with your body's system to say, back off, we're fine, we can lose weight. It's okay for us to lose weight.
I need
Um,
more sleep than 4. It's like,
yeah.
yeah, that's not a lot.
And then you got
But
to talk about screen time and some of those things like preparing to get good sleep is another element.
Yep. Like, yeah, you like preventing the things that create obstructions in your brain for sleep. Yeah. So
Blue light.
I read actual paperback books when I go to bed.
me too. I love them.
Yeah. But also like, are you drinking enough water?
Mhm.
Aspirationally for me, it's supposed to be a gallon a day, but um,
Oh, I can't do that. It's too much.
well, but it's surprising. Like it helps you lose weight because
I
what
tried a gallon. Yeah, it's like,
no,
oh,
but
yeah, no.
what it's actually doing is that when you drink lots of water, you're cleansing sugars and salts from your body that
Mhm.
also impact your liver because your liver triggers your body to say we need to store things if
Mhm.
it doesn't have enough stuff,
Mhm.
and it also triggers your metabolism.
Hmm.
So when you actually start thinking like drinking water also helps with your mental health.
Mhm.
And I don't exactly understand this one perfectly, but there's something about drinking water that it helps you it helps relieve stress.
Hmm.
Oh, I do. I drink a lot of water.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
not a gallon, but that's too much. But yeah, whenever my body said, "Okay, we're done, Mary. Enough water."
You just
So
have to park outside the bathroom if you drink that much water.
But
exactly.
it depends on when you drink it. There definitely is going to be a phase where you have to use the bathroom a bit, but
Hmm.
it also just depends on when you're drinking the water.
Especially don't drink water before you go to bed. Yeah, no, not a good idea.
Yeah.
So, so okay.
All right. Well, I think this has been a super fun discussion. We've come to
Yeah.
the top of the hour, and I've really enjoyed the filling your lamp. Mary, if
It's a
you're
good one.
interested,
Thank you.
we have a lawyer's CLE that's on Thursday
Okay.
that's going to relate to Abraham Lincoln and the law.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will I get a link for that so I can join?
If you go to my website where this link was, Market
Okay.
Law Mediation under classes, you can find the links for the classes. But
Okay.
um, it's also free, so it doesn't matter. But then we also have coming up in a couple weeks strategic manifestation, which helps specifically with goals.
Oh, I
And
like that.
we
Okay.
have a readers book club, which is different than just a book club where we're doing one book. We kind of have an eclectic theme, and the theme for October
Oh.
is kind of Halloween literature and why we're reading those.
Oh, I love that. Okay.
We I don't know
Great.
if we also have a startup toolbox that's coming up,
Mhm.
which is specific to small business development and ideas for businesses.
Okay.
There's another
And
one.
lemons. Don't
Oh,
forget lemons.
that's right. What lemons is very similar to this one, but it's a little bit different. It's like when life gives you lemons, and that's specific to how do you address um the unexpected. How do you overcome the unexpected?
Okay. And is that
Well,
in the
also
other
big
class?
transitions,
Yeah,
life
big transition.
transitions.
Oh, that's a good one
So
too.
maybe even they're expected, but
They're still hard.
getting older,
Yeah,
when your kids
exactly.
leave, getting divorced, those things.
Well,
Yeah,
I
and
don't
then
have any kids, so I have a dog, so I'm good.
that's good. Yeah, and then the final one is conflict coaching, where we talk about
Mm.
elements of how to resolve conflict. That
Oh, conflict. That sounds good. Okay.
You
yeah,
can see
so
the first conflict one as soon as we get it up.
yeah,
Okay. Sounds
we,
great. Perfect. It
so
was great today. Thank
for
you.
those out there zooming in or participating, you can find us the classes at stewardgrowth.com or markelawmediation.com, and you can find the recordings on our YouTube channel, Steward Growth, which should be worked out shortly. All right.
Okay.
I hope everybody had a great time.
All right. Thank you. It was
Thank
good.
you.